Psychology and a former associate of Sigmund Freud, and Sir Arthur Conan, the writer Sherlock Holmes. Many of the members overlapped the society. Many of these members overlapped with the Society of Psychical Research, which was more geared toward the scientific aspect of the research. So there was actually started to become a split in how people believed or investigated these claims, and many of them were actually together under one group. This split can also be known as the beginning of parapsychology, which is the focus based around the study of different variations of psychic experiences, and which is very strong now of study. The Society of Psychical Research. The SPR was founded in 1882 in London by a group of eminent thinkers, including Edmund Gurney, Frederick William Henry Myers, William Fletcher Barrett, Henry Segment, and Edmund Dawson Rogers. Its stated purpose, given in the first proceedings of the group, was to approach these very problems without prejudice or propositions of any kind, and in the same spirit and exact unimpassioned inquiry, which has enabled science to solve many problems, once not less obscure nor less hotly debated. Initially, 6 committees were established. One was on the thought transference, which dealt with mesmerism and similar phenomenon and mediumship. We have the Rohrenbach phenomenon that they also studied, apparitions in haunted houses, psychical phenomena associated with seances, and a literary committee that studied the history of the phenomenon. And of course, basically that's saying psychic experiences, to be honest with you. One of its significant experiments was the consensus of hallucinations, which is what was termed as viewing these type of experiences was considered having a hallucination. I'm not saying that that wasn't real or anything or fake, but just that's how they perceived it, as it would be considered how we would hallucinate. This particular experiment, the census of hallucination, which was with 15,000 people, they were asked to report on hallucinatory experiences while awake and in good health. Some 10% of those reported such experience, and a small number of vertical hallucinations were reported. That is, hallucinations which appear to convey information not known to the person hallucinating at the time, which is believed by the authors to be the suggestion of telepathy. And of course, that's basically saying people who had either deja vu, premonitions, and so on and so forth. That's what the vertical hallucinations was considered. The critical SPR investigations into the medium, investigating mediums, and exposure of fake mediums led to a number of exhumations in the 1880s by spiritualist members, but the society continued to investigate mediums. They gained the reputation of being scientifically and highly critical. And of course, some of these people who were involved was Harry Price, and he's also one of the founding fathers of paranormal research and ghost hunting overall. Born January 17, 1881, was a British amateur inventor, psychic researcher and author. His first psychical investigation took place when he was only 15 and still in school. He had a young friend obtain permission to spend the night in an old manor that was rumored to be haunted. They experienced disembodied footsteps in the house and attempted to photograph the ghost, which failed when Price loaded far too much flash powder into his camera. The incident made for an amusing anecdote that Price often retold later in life. However, it did guarantee his future and ghost and strange phenomena. When Harry Price joined the Society for Psychical Research in 1920, he had already begun his career as Britain's most famous ghost hunter. He was also an expert magician and soon made a name for himself within the SPR, the SPR research group for using his magic skills to debunk fraudulent psychics. Then, in keeping with what was the main thrust of the current SPR investigations, one of Price's first efforts exposed the work of a spirit photographer named William Hope. He was making a fortune taking portraits of people that always seemed to include the sitter's dead relatives. Price was sent to the investigation and soon published his findings. He claimed that Hope used pre-exposed plates in his camera, which he learned by secretly switching the plates the photographer was using with the plates of his own. Being an amateur inventor, he developed many instruments to study these claims. Most were used during his experiences with a young woman named Stella Crenshaw. She said that, according to her, her claims were that she heard rapping noises, cold chills, and household objects inexplicably taking flight had been bothering her for some time. Price, excited at the prospect of a new test subject, told her that he was a psychic investigator and asked if she would submit being tested as a medium. Stella agreed, and a series of seances were scheduled at the London Spiritualist Alliance. Stella was given a modest payment for her time since she was required to take off work in the afternoons to come to these sittings. I wish we had all the money to pay people to study some of these experiences. The first seance brought some surprises, namely that Stella, who had never considered herself a medium, had a spirit control who came through to the sitters. The spirit guide, named Palma, communicating by rapping and would follow requests made to it, like moving a heavy oak table in various directions around the room. At the same seance, the thermometers recorded rapid temperature drops. These swift changes became a staple for Stella's seance. As the seance went on, Price had started to use even more equipment. He developed a device called the telekinetic scope. It was a device that used a telegraph key that, when depressed, would cause a red light to turn on. A glass dome then covered the key so that only a psychic power could operate it. During the seance, the red light occasionally turned on. In August 1928, Stella married Leslie Deacon, and she brought her short career as a medium to an end. After the end of the sessions with Stella, Price began searching for further mediums to investigate. He traveled to Munich for a series of sittings with William Schneider at the laboratory of Baron Albert von Schrucknauting, a flamboyant investigator of his time. At this time, what? It's okay. As time went on, he investigated more claims into mediums and even claims of a talking mongoose, which was kind of interesting. What he turned out was that someone was throwing their voice to basically have this mongoose talk. The claims were that the mongoose was possessed by some kind of spirit. Another aspect, a huge influence of mine as well, Harry Houdini. Born Eric Weiss, March 24, 1874, was a Hungarian-born American magician and escapologist, stunt performer, actor, film producer, noted for his sensational escape acts. He was also a skeptic who set out to expose frauds purporting to be supernatural phenomena. Houdini's training in magic allowed him to expose frauds, who had successfully fooled many scientists and academics. He was a member of the Scientific American Committee that offered a cash prize to any medium who could successfully demonstrate supernatural abilities. None were able to do so that came up to take this prize, and of course the prize was never collected. There's actually another prize out there right now, and we'll be going over that later. The first to be tested was a medium named George Valentine of Wicks Bar, Pennsylvania. As his fame as a Ghostbuster grew, Houdini took to attending seances in disguise, accompanied by a reporter and police officer. Possibly the most famous medium who he debunked was Amina Crandon, also known as Marjorie. Houdini chronicled his debunking exploits in his book, A Magician Among the Spirits. These activities cost Houdini the friendship of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, which during that time they were actually very close. He was a firm believer in spiritualism during those years, refused to believe any of Houdini's exposés. Doyle came to believe that Houdini was a powerful spiritualist medium and that he was creating some of these experiences. Oh, yes, and using these abilities to block those of other mediums that he would consider that were debunked. As we get into later on, we have Ed and Lorraine Warren. Ed Warren, born September 7, 1926, and died August 23, 2006, very recently. He was a noted demonologist, author, lecturer, World War II U.S. Navy veteran, and a former police officer. His wife, Lorraine Warren, born January 31st, 1927, still alive. His wife is a professor clairvoyant and a light trance medium. There's also tons of that type of working along with mediums who work closely with her husband.